Well, today's episode is going to be a little interesting. As you know, I witnessed AEW Dark Elevation during my trip in LA to the Kia Forum. Even though I witnessed it clearly, I decided, to get a much clearer eye view watching the show on YouTube with the commentaries. But also, we're going to review some early events that would happen in the start of 2022 with All Japan Pro Wrestling with New Year Giant Series with day 1 and day 2 that happened on the 2nd and the 3rd of January. And of course, we got some news updates to share what's been going on, mostly with the GCW updates and plenty other things to talk about. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling, that is AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, let's begin with AEW Dark Elevation. Now, I did state it earlier that I actually was there when it was taped. Um, Even though I actually witnessed it, I'm currently yet to work on the video to release that since I already displayed it on YouTube. But right now, let's get to see what I think about this particular show, what took place. Now, it opened up with Emi Sakura, Marina Shafir, and Nyla Rose, along with Vicky Guerrero being on their side. Their opponents is Johnny Robbie. Some people on Twitter talk about her. Vipers, someone who I'm familiarized, but I'm not familiarized with the third partner, Zyra. But one thing I did notice in this match, even though it was already seen, seems like there's trouble in paradise between both Marina and Nyla. Now we know that Vicky has been very upset with Nyla because A, she did not beat Jade Cargill, and B, she did not obtain the title. Now I don't know what's the friction between this, but it's clear that maybe there is the possibility they could split away. But the obvious question is who's at fault this from their state? I don't know. But what I did notice is how this match was ended. Nyla put Zyra in the Nyla bomb in the Beast bomb, but instead of having, she was not the illegal person, so it was Emi Sakura who took the pinfall, giving the win to her team. But however, it appears that there is the trouble in paradise between Nyla and Marina. We just don't know what is going on. I don't know what the story is telling us, but we will get close enough to find out. Now, our next match, we have Daniel Garcia taking on his old pal, Kevin Blackwood. If you guys ever seen these two in the independents, they have always been stuck to each other like cops on donuts. But this time, their opponents, I have to say, it was a pretty good match, despite the fact that Kevin Blackwood is not officially signed with AEW, but it was great that he gets to put up on match. The reason he was there, as you know, Blackwood participated in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and it makes sense why he was there. But however, it was some kind of a DDT knee drop that allowed Daniel Garcia to pick up the win. So that was something I never seen, but it was pretty impressive. Now we do see a little interview with Matt Hardy and Isaiah Cassidy. It appears that I don't know what's going on, but it appears Ethan Page is like, it seems that he and Matt Hardy are getting along, but he felt that Isaiah Cassidy is not getting along with Bandwagon, so he brought Brandon Cutler to join the little party. So that kind of sets the whole thing. Now, we our next match we have Nick Ruiz, Zach Clayton, and Ari Daivari. They take on the members of Dark Order, or what's left of them. Uh, Alex Reynolds, John Silver, and Evil Uno. I felt like these three have somehow became like now like the core members of the group. But of course, if you guys ever seen them on Being the Elite, they're trying to recruit new members. But in the end, it was the pendulum bomb onto Ruiz that gave the Dark Order win, while Ari and Clayton, they just bolted, leaving Ruiz by himself. So, shows the show. They just don't care for themselves, for anybody but themselves. Now, our next interview we do see is Lexi Neer with Konosuke Takeshita. As you know, Takeshita had a pretty amazing match on Wednesday against Brian Danielson. But however, the obvious thing that's been going on recently is Don Callis. We have seen Don Callis interactive. If you guys saw this or heard this about this or not, Don Callis showed up at Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, where Takeshita wrestled four matches in 2 nights. But also, there was interaction with them going to a Lakers game, I believe. I'm not sure if it's the Lakers or the Clippers, but seemed like they were getting along. But it appears that Don Callis wants to help him out. We don't know if Takeshita will take up on his offer, so we'll just wait and see what happens then. Then we have La Facción Ingobernable, consisting of Rush and Preston Vance, taking on Diego Valens and Mysterioso. But I knew this match was going to end in the favor of Los Ingobernales. Mostly, Preston Vance did all the work, while Rush did the final blow with you get mess with the bull and you get the horns. So he pinned Mysterioso. But in this case, I had a feeling that this was going to end where, of course, they're going to try to rip off Mysterio's mask, which they did. Sooner or later, someone is going to have to make a custom-made Iron Man in the Iron mask for Preston Vance. It's been done before. I've seen it in AAA. I'll explain that some other time. Our next match, we have I have to say, this is the most fun and interesting matches. We have the Wingmen, consisting of Ryan Mendez and Peter Avalon, teaming up with the members of the Spanish Announce Project, Serpentico and Luther. They take on Isaiah Cassidy, Matt Hardy, Ethan Page, and joining them is Brandon Cutler. I was like, Ethan Page was, I have to say, watching this, it was like live, I thought it was so fun. Even watching it on the YouTube, it was like so hilarious. I just couldn't stop laughing. But I have to say, this was a good match. But I knew this was going to end the way I did, with Ethan Page making the pinfall, because he tagged on Isaiah Cassidy, tagged himself in without, I don't think he noticed, but Isaiah Cassidy felt like he couldn't believe that happened. But I knew that was going to turn into that direction. Now, our next match, we have Willie Mack versus Brian Cage. Now, those who are not pro wrestling fans in general. Now, if you guys never seen Willie Mack, he's a local hero in LA from South Central Los Angeles. You may have seen him if you haven't seen him, he did some work with Impact Wrestling, Lucha Underground, various promotions. He's currently working with MLW, from my understanding. But yeah, so he's been making his ways. But if you guys never seen him, he's an unbelievable wrestler to enjoy. First time I saw him was during a Rey Mysterio show that he did at a casino. It was pretty fun. But I have to say, this match was good because there's history between both Brian Cage and Willie Mack. They both fought each other during Lucha Underground, and I thought it was going to end exactly like that, when, of course, Brian Cage applied like some sort of spinning neck breaker onto Willie Mack in order to pick up the win. Now, our next match is for the ROH Women's Championship, with Athena versus Zeta Zhang. I figured this is going to fall into favor with Athena as soon as she applied the crossface, but once again, in the post match, she decides to give a beatdown to Zeta Zhang until we saw the return of yeah. That's right, Yuka Sakazaki, the magical girl, showed up. But I think many fans are curious to see this because we saw exactly what took place. If you guys don't know what I'm referring to, she picked up the ROH Women's Championship, and Athena was like so livid that she picked it up and put her hands on it. So people probably are saying to Tony Khan, book it. So that's what I think is going to happen. Now, our last interview, we have Prince Nana, as all this and that. It appears that Dark Order continues with their ways, trying to recruit more people, try to pick up where they felt like they need to move forward after Preston Vance and many others left. It appears that Prince Nana did not want to join Dark Order, but however, it appears that he owes money to them, $6,000. So he ran when he realized what he's done. So I thought it was so hilarious. Now, our main event is a three-way tag match. Team number one, we have the Butcher and the Blade versus Top Flight, Dante Martin and Darius Martin. And then finally, members of the Blackpool Combat Club, uh, Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. Now, this was going to be it, as Jim Ross would always say, a slobber knocker of a match. Now, you have two different teams, two teams that are, in fact, are more of the brawler types, like the ones that love to fight or beat up, take notice. Then, of course, there's the fast and agility of Top Flight. So, which one was going to walk out? You could say this would have fallen favor into Top Flight because they have been on a roll recently, and that's exactly what took place when when Dante applied the nosedive onto the Blade. 1, 2, 3, it was over. So we're seeing now the Top Flight are picking up some good wins. It's only a matter of time until they make it to the AEW World Tag Team Constituency. So we'll see when that takes place. So I think that's pretty much it here. So let's talk about All Japan Pro Wrestling. Okie dokie. So let's talk about All Japan Pro Wrestling. So this is day one of the New Year Giant Series in Korakuen Hall. So this is one of the few series that's just started out this year. This took place on the 2nd of January. Now we do have, I believe, two title matches. Yes, we have two title matches, a number one contendership for the tag titles, and of course, a battle royale. Now, our first match we have is Gunner of Anarchy, consistent of Masao Hanabatake, Yusuke Kodama, and of course Ruki Honda taking on Yuma, Hanzai, Ryo Inoue, and Dan Tamura. Now, this is a very interesting matchup because, I see that Ryo Inoue and the Anzai are, in fact, are the young boys in this whole thing. So that played a factor for them to win until, what's his name? Um, um, Hanabatek, Hanabatek, I think that's how I pronounce it right, applied like a somewhat version of the standing over. No, Ryoki, no Honda, yeah, Ryoki Honda. He applied like a somewhat similar version of the standing ovation that Joe Hendry did. I don't know what they call that on his what he calls it, but it did felt that that was the win that he needed. Now, our next match we have Blackman Suri, Mitsuya Nagai, and Yoshitatsu taking on Kaz Hayashi, Rising Hayato, and Takao Omori. Pretty good match. I liked it, because we have uh, Kaz Hayashi who's made his way through Dragon Gate all the way to, of course, Gleet, made his appearance. But his finisher is pretty cool. One of his moves that I like is when he does like this backflip, then he does this kick, and then he apply like a similar version of the rabbit hole, I believe, onto Black Mansuri, giving him and his team the win. Now, our next match, I have to say, this is one of the most interesting team ups. We have Minoru Suzuki teaming up with Naruki Doi, who's now switched from being a full time member of Dragon Gate to a freelancer. They take on Okuda Omori and Suji Ishikawa. Now, you probably can guess this will fall into favor to Minoru Suzuki because he is the king. That's right. He even applied the Gotch style power driver on Omori. But in the post match, this where it gets interesting. Omori, Odoku Omori, aligned himself with both Naruki Doi and Minoru Suzuki. So in the post match comments, um, Minoru Suzuki talked about possibly forming a new faction. Now, I'm thinking, is this faction going to be strictly for All Japan Pro Wrestling? Because I've seen many wrestlers that had been in many factions from the promotions they're in. Like, for example, um, Shigeru Iri, he was involved with Purple Haze, a promotion that was with a faction that was only for All Japan Pro Wrestling. But at the same time, he was with Strong Hearts. But I don't know how that works while if Strong Hearts comes to All Japan. That's still something I don't know yet. But it was interesting. Now we do get a number one contenders for the World Tag Team titles between the Voodoo Murder members, um, the Saito brothers, Jun and Ri. They take on Naoya Nomura and Yuma Aoyagi. So I thought this match was going to be interesting because the Voodoo Murders are the most dangerous faction, you know, to get what they want, however they want. But in this case, there was a counter reverse by Oyagi onto Rei Saito that allowed them to pick up the win. I'm sure the Saito brothers are not happy with it, but they will get their retribution at some point. Now our next match is for the uh, excuse me, for the junior heavyweight championship between former champion Hikaru Sato versus the current champion Atsuki Aoyagi. Now, Sato actually lost the belt to Tiger Mask, and then of course it was Atsuki Aoyagi who won that belt from Tiger Mask. So basically, it was more like Sato would do anything to get his belt back. But I have to say, it was a pretty fun match. Aoyagi pulled off a 450 splash onto Sato and picked up the win. But in the end, there was a shine of respect between Sato and Aoyagi, showing that he lost fair and square to a much capable wrestler to carry the torch of the junior heavyweight division. So that's pretty much what happened in this match. So let's keep moving. I believe we have the World Tag Team titles. We have Miyakase Tokuya, consisting of Tokuya Nomura and Kento Miyahara, who is also our current Triple Crown champion. They take on the members of Voodoo Murders, Kono and Suwama. Now, I know that Kento had dealt with Suwama time and time again. Now, if you guys remember, it was Suwama who beat Kento for the title, the Triple Crown title, and then of course it was Kento who beat Suwama last year for the title. So this is interesting. First it was the Triple Crown, and now it's the tag titles. But you know that Voodoo Murders were going to try to play some dirty tricks in this match. However, it did not work. It was, of course, Nomura who put Kono in a submission, chokehold submission, forcing him to tap out. And I'm sure Voodoo Murders are not thrilled with losing this match in this way. So that's how it plays out. Now, everybody in the roster that showed up participated in the battle royale. Now, I'm going to presume that this is where they get everybody gets to pick a belt of their choosing. So I have to say I'm going to skip ahead. The winner of this one is Takuya Nomura. His win is that he challenged Kento Miyahara for the Triple Crown Championship the following day. So we will talk about that right now. So let's move on with day two. Okay, day two of All Japan Pro Wrestling with New Year's Giant Series. Again, back in Korakuen Hall. Our opening match, we have tag team action. We got Ryu Inoue teaming up with Rising Hayato, taking on Dan Tamura and Hikaru Sato. Pretty good match. I loved it. Figured this was going to fall in favor of Tamura and Hayato. I mean, Tamura and Sato, due to the fact these guys have worked together before as members of Evolution, before Suwama turned on them. Tamura applied the Death Valley driver onto Inoue, giving them the win on this one. Next match, we got Gunnery of Anakor, or let's just call it GOA, consistent of Masao Hanabatake and Yusuke Koduma, taking on Blackman Suri and Mitsuya Nagae. I thought this match was pretty interesting because Normally, at times, we have seen Black Monster uh, takes the pinfall, but in this case, it was his tag partner with Nagaya who actually picked up the win by applying a very strong submission onto Masao, and boom, he tapped out. So basically, he had no other choice but to do that. Next match, we got Naoya Nomura versus Rookie Honda. I thought this match was gonna fall fast because we know that it was gonna be a very strong match, but it was in the end uh, a somewhat of a spear that later turned into a jackknife by Nomura to win the match. I was like, how's that even possible to try a spear then into a jackknife? But it seemed like it worked. I liked it. Now we got a six-man tag match. Well, first before our next match, we have the appearance of Atsushi Onita, who shows up doing a promo, but all of a sudden, coming out from the back, we have Yoshitatsu, who's out to confront him until Onita gave him the green mist and put it on his face. Apparently, we don't know what's the situation between those two, what's going on. But all I know is that Yoshitatsu was supposed to be focused on this next match, teaming up with, of course, with Yuma Nazai and Yuji Nagata. But their opponents is none other than the members of Voodoo Murders, Jun and Ri Sato, and of course Suwama. But the Voodoo Murders come out, try to give a beatdown to Yoshitatsu. Even Anzai and Nagata tried to help, but it did not do anyone a favor until Suwama at the end applied a chokehold onto Yoshitatsu. Yoshitatsu still dealing with the mist on his face, but it ended with him passing out. Ref had no other choice but to call it. But all of a sudden, here comes another member of Voodoo Murders, Yado, who was about to throw ectoplasma to the ref. The ref ducked and accidentally got Suwama. Suwama's pissed off, starting up a fight. I don't know if that was intentional or was it really what happened. I don't know. I couldn't tell from just the look of it. Now our next match is the All Asian Tag Team titles. This is the one where they have two belts. Has the big belt. So we have the Nosawa Run Guy teaming up with Kendo Kashin. Those two have teamed up before in the past in Pro Wrestling Noah. They take on the champions Masao Inoue and Takao Omori. I had a feeling this is not it was going to end with Run Guy because he has cheated in the past, used dirty tactics to pick up the win. So he low blowed Omori to pick up the win until he did an inside cradle. The ref did not see a thing, so they walked out as the brand new All Asian tag team champions. So it's kind of messed up. Now our next match we have, of course, a much interesting team up. We got Minoru Suzuki, Noriko Doi, and Hokuto Omori taking on Suji Ishikawa, Yuma Aoyagi, and Azuchi Aoyagi. It was a pretty fun match. I think this is a very interesting idea of Minoru Suzuki starting a new faction, but like I said, I'm going to presume that this is going to be strictly for All Japan. So it was pretty interesting until what's his name? Omori put what's his name? Asushi in a somewhat of a Falcon Arrow type of finisher. I don't know if that was it, but I have to say it was a pretty good win for his team. Now our main event is the Triple Crown Championship. We got Takuya Nomori versus Kento Miyahara. Now keep in mind Nomori actually won the Battle Royal the day before. I thought this match was pretty good, but I knew that this match was going to end with the German suplex by Miyahara to retain the title. However, in the post-match, he was giving out a promo until he was interrupted by his old teammate, Yuma Aoyagi. But I don't know what's the scenario of that. But at the same time, we saw Yuji Nagata come out. So it doesn't take a genius that they both want to challenge Kento Miyahara for the Triple Crown Championship. So that's what I think is taking place. Until something is announced, we'll find out soon enough. I think that's pretty much it with All Japan Pro Wrestling. Let's move on with some news updates. Okay, welcome to our news update. So let's get update. So what's been going on with WWE? So as you know, the reports were coming in from the Wrestling Observer. Now I don't know how everybody in the workplace are feeling. I know people are on edge with Vince McMahon making his return. Like I said, it felt like a dark cloud has come back to cloud the sun. Vince said that he would like to make suggestions on throughout the WWE. However, when it comes to creative side, Triple H is going to make the final say. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what he wants to do. Take that position because whatever decisions took place creatively, many fans did not like that, but we felt that that was a weight of the shoulder. So we'll see what happens then. Now, I don't know if you guys have been fans in Stardom with this particular new unit, or as we like to call it, a subunit in Cosmic Angels Club Venus. Now, I know you guys have some mixed feelings towards them about, okay, what's the situation with Mina? Is she going to leave the Cosmic Angels? She did state it that she is still a member, but at the same time, she's a member of Club Venus. This is the same situation we saw back in 2020, almost 3 years ago, with Tam Nakano forming the Cosmic Angels as a subunit within Stars. So we don't know anything yet. But I have to say, Club Venus have been on a roll recently. They just appeared on the cover of Weekly Pro Wrestling, and now Tokyo Sports are really fascinated by them. And there's also images where we see Waka Tsukiyama hanging out with them. Now, I think the working theory on Waka Tsukiyama, and many people speculate that if Mina does decide to leave the Cosmic Angels and focus as a member as part of the Club Venus, then she would take Waka with them because, as you know, both Mina and Waka got along great because A, they both can speak English. Waka born in New York, Mina took English like for a long time. It would make sense, but we don't know yet if that's the case. But I felt recently they have been a role. I know many people have talked about they could be the fan favorites to win the Triangle Derby. We just don't know yet how far to come. Yet to see the Stardom events that took place in Osaka, but I'll get to those soon enough. So I think that's it for that. So let's move on to very interesting developments. Now, as you know, we're not that far off from, we're like maybe we're about 2 months away from WrestleMania weekend. Now, GCW, as you know, they participate in this weekend known as the GCW Collective. Now, they announced for particular shows that will be taking place through the 30th to the 4th, but let me pull those up. Now, March 30th, which is a Thursday, we have Santino's Bro Wrestling, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 9, DDT Pro Wrestling, Full the Culture. If you guys aren't familiarized with Santino Bros Wrestling, this uh, is also a wrestling academy down in LA. Many of the wrestlers came down here to San Diego for the Level Up show. So if you guys aren't familiarized with them, check them out. Happy that Josh Barnett's Bloodsport is back. Hopefully we see Kota Ibushi involved in that. I feel like it could be a perfect opportunity. DDT make their first time appearance here in in the states. I'm very happy for that, and of course the annual Full the Culture. If you guys are familiar with that, this is where they have like wrestlers of African American backgrounds or anything like that. They'll make the presence zones. I'm very excited for that. Now for the 31st, which is a Friday, we have Jimmy Lloyd's D-Generation F. Then after that, we have DDT versus GCW. Then we have Joey Janela's Spring Break 7 and an emo fight. I'm excited for those particular shows. I'm very happy for that. Then finally, we only have two shows on April 1st. We have FE's Big Gay Brunch. If you're not a fan of those, then don't watch those. And then after that, we got Gringos Locos World on Lucha, so that's going to be interesting. And then finally, on April 2nd, we have the Indies Wrestling Hall of Fame. I don't think I'm going to watch that, so I'll skip it. Now, huge announcement has taken, as you guys know. Um, best The Best Bros have been making headway since they made their appearance teaming up in Garden State Pro Wrestling out of Jersey. Beyond Wrestling has announced that the Best Bros are returning for Wrestle Open on the 19th. I'm sure we're all excited to see that because we know they had a fantastic match the last time they were there, and many fans are asking them to come back. It looks like their wish are finally coming true. Their opponents is to be has not been determined, but I will follow up on that. Um, DPW of Deadlock Pro Wrestling has announced for their You Already Know show that's going to take place on the 28th of February. We're going to have a very interesting tag match. We have Jay Malachi teaming up with LeBron Cozone to take on Adam Brooks and BK Westbrook. Now these two teams had dealt with each other on the last show back in December, so it looks like they're going to pick up where we left off. Now for the West Coast, a huge announcement coming from the West Coast Pro. As you know, we are in May. We're going to have the first ever Queen of the Indies. There was a, a mention I mentioned on the last news updates that there's going to be representation from the Yoshi promotion. Marvelous. It's now been announced that we're going to have Shiguza Nagayo, who will be participating in this particular show. This is the first time in 10 years she has wrestled in America. We know she was here not too long ago when she was here joining Mio Momono for her show in the West Coast Pro. But it's great that she's going to be participating. Is there any other wrestlers from Marvel's participating? I'm not sure yet, but we'll see who will be announcing. I will be talking more about that when we continue forward. Um, as you'll know, I also mentioned that for MLW, we had a surprise announcement that the Natural Vibes, the current Open the Twin Gate champions from Dragon Gate, Natural Vibes KZ and Big Boss Shimizu will be making their appearance. However, their presence have now been announced for two other events taking place. The next one's going to take place at Garden State for at the 3rd of February. This is going to be interesting, and also at ETU, which is Lightning in the Bottle, that'll take place on the 26th. So looks more like these two are the Dragon Gate are going to be making the guys from Dragon Gate are going to make be on a big role. Now this one was coming for Fightful Select. Fightful Select reports that Myron Reed is no longer working with MLW. He is now officially a free agent, so that means he can go wherever he wants to or be whatever promotion are willing to sign him. So we'll just follow along where the future holds for him. Now, New South Pro Wrestling are having this event called Haas 2023. They announced for many wrestlers are going to be participating, like Marcus Dillon, don't know who he is, Davey Richards, Warhorse, Luigi Primo, and then finally Stallion Rogers. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully I get to see it. New Japan Strong has announced for the Nemesis shows the Strong Openweight Tag Team titles will be on the line. The Mercy Machine Guns, Shelly and Sabin, will be facing Roppongi Vice. I would say this is going to be an epic match because if the Roppongi Vice win this match, that's going to be killer. Now, No Peace Underground, a very interesting promotion, announced that Jimmy Lloyd will be in the match on the 28th of January, taking on Lindsay Snow. So that's going to be very interesting to see. And finally, our GCW updates for the Don't Talk to Me event that will take place soon on the 20th. We have Second Gear Crew consistent of Justice and Warner taking on John Wayne Murdoch and George South versus Bojack and Lucky Ali, which is kind of unusual, where they take on the Revolt. On the 21st of January, for Take a Picture, we're going to have Billy Starks versus Sawyer Wreck. Then, of course, the collaboration between GCW and New South. It was announced that Sawyer Wreck will be facing off New South's Primetime. For the Holy Smokes event on the 4th of March, Rina Yamashita makes her return, and she'll be putting the GCW Ultraviolet Championship on the line against the former ICW American Deathmatch Champion KZ Kurt. I have to say this is going to be another good match. And finally, for the Eye for an Eye that takes place on the 17th of March, Bandito makes his return to GCW, so this is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to everything on GCW and everything else. So I think let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Now, coming up, as you know, we have Tuesday Wrestling. I will only be covering AEW Dark and NXT. Uh, NWA are going to have something different. It's going to involve certain people talking, all this. I'm not much of a fan of that unless if it's something that will be interesting, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to focus on that. However, I will focus on other things. I haven't decided what I'm going to do. I'm either going to do add maybe one or two wrestling events. I haven't decided yet. So I'll just keep that as a surprise for everybody, see how that goes. So I think that's pretty much it, what we're going to be talking about. So I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day.